What's going on, sports fans? Once again, it's K-Stu the GOAT for Vernon Speak Sports, talking about Auburn football and the rest of the SEC. I don't know if you are excited as I am about the fact that the recruiting process, at least for 2019, is over. It's a very exhausting process, trying to figure out where these young men are going to go. Some of them flip, some of them stay. But I think overall, Auburn had a pretty good recruiting class. Ranked number 6 in the SEC, ranked number 11 overall. And I think when you really look at where Florida and, not Florida, where LSU and Texas A&M was around 285.46% and LSU at 284.06. I think they could actually be tied at number 3, and that puts Auburn almost in the top 10. It was statistically very, very close. One thing I do like about Auburn's recruiting class is that, according to 24/7 Sports, they were 91.16%, which I think gives them a very good rating. Landing 2 5-star recruits. The average in the top 4 or 5 is Alabama having 3 5-star recruits, and Georgia adding George Pickens there at the last minute gives Georgia their 5th 5-star recruit, an excellent recruiting class for Alabama and Georgia, and Texas A&M making some strides as a number 3 recruiting class in the SEC. Along, of course, you got LSU and you got Florida, Auburn after Florida. Now, one of the things that I'm really excited about is Auburn, especially at the skill position and especially at the linebacker position. Auburn got what they needed out of this particular class for the most part. And we're going to get to the part that they didn't get to in just a second. I think landing Bo Nix and Owen Pappoe really drove this recruiting class statistically to a whole nother level. Owen Pappoe was thought to be one of the top linebackers in the country. Definitely going to be a great addition to an already stout Auburn defense. I will predicate this again. Derek Brown, the defensive lineman returning to Auburn, solidifies Auburn's possibility of having a top 5 defense, not only in the strong SEC West, but a top 5 defense in the country, because they will have loads of talent in the interior defensive line. And that's where the games are won. That's where differences are made in the SEC, at the line of scrimmage. And I think Auburn is well on their way to being that team that will be dominant in that area once again. Now, the thing about Auburn this year is the supporting cast is going to be phenomenal. I think with Owen Pappoe, KJ Britt, that gives Auburn's linebacker core, who is going to be very talented and who's going to be a lot more agile than the linebackers that they've had in the past. I really think that strong defensive line is going to give these guys some time to really get some confidence, because the pressure they're going to be able to put on other teams, I really think is going to help leverage out that linebacker position to give those guys, a comfort level going into SEC play. Zion Puckett, also another incredible athlete joining this particular class. Derek Hall, I really think he's going to be a great player as well. One guy that I featured, who I think is one of my slick favorite guys in this class, is Cameron Kelly out of Chesapeake, Virginia, who is kind of like an ace in the hole in this class. He's a guy that actually gives this class a lot of diversity, and because you can put him anywhere, he's so intelligent. And then you have DJ Williams, who I also featured, who came along a little late, but I still think that he, somewhere around that 3-4 star, but because we just haven't seen enough body of work. But I think he's going to really, really help leverage Auburn's offensive backfield. Kobe Wooden, oddly enough, I actually had the privilege of meeting this young man in person along with his incredible father. They are very good people, very well mannered. I think you definitely will not have a discipline problem out of Kobe Wooden. Probably will come in and play the buck position. In my honest opinion, I think Kobe Wooden will be one of a few red shirts from this year. Now, Here's some guys that Gus Malzahn thought that he just absolutely had to have, and that's Charles Moore out of Louisville, Mississippi, lineman out of Louisville, Mississippi. Mark Anthony Richards. I think we're very big on Mark Anthony Richards. He's a very agile running back, probably one of the better running backs in the country. I think will prove to be a huge addition for the Auburn Tigers. And like I said before, there are many guys that I can name, and not to, we don't want to make the video long, but Auburn really has a solid recruiting class. Of course, George Pickens flipping from Auburn, I don't think that's as huge of a loss, because you really don't want to deal with, say, a 5-star wide receiver recruit. Your offense is predicated on the run pass option. You're not about to, this guy's not about to have 7 catches for 184 yards every single game. He is going to be a rift in the locker room. I'm not getting the touches that I want. I'm ready to transfer. At this point in Gus Malzahn's career, he doesn't have time to deal with those kind of distractions. He needs guys who understand, who are sold on his program, who are sold on his process, and understand that this is a run-first offense. Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be some opportunities in the pass game, but he likes to run the football first, and that starts with the run-pass option out of the quarterback. A running quarterback really, really sets this offense to a whole nother level. And on defense, when you look at the athletes that Auburn has on defense, in my honest opinion, top to bottom, this is one of the best sets of talent that Auburn has had, probably in recent history at least. Because usually what happens, you have a good cornerback and all the rest of them are like 2-3-star material. But now you have a secondary of really, really good, solid recruits. And then you add guys who are recruited as athletes or running backs who could be converted into cornerback, which really helps to leverage out and add some depth to this cornerback position. And like I said before, I think Auburn has nothing to be ashamed of. They got the flip from George Pickens. But if anything, that's more of a media story. Because when you look at what Auburn really needed, didn't necessarily need like a elite receiver, because it's really no serious use for an elite receiver, especially with all that Auburn has coming back. They probably needed to sign a few more offensive linemen, because if you look at it, this particular set of offensive linemen that are coming back, they're mostly going to be graduating next year. So the turnover offensive line wise is a little bit shaky. Hopefully some of the guys that are already there who are reserves will come along and actually add some depth so that the turnover won't be so bad at that offensive line position. But either way, Auburn is in solid position to make a very good run at the SEC, perhaps. Because the SEC is going to be very top heavy this year, with Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M both having those solid recruiting classes and really going to add some leverage. And it's going to be some real stiff competition come mid to late October on into November as the SEC West starts to heat up. Once again, it's K-Stu the GOAT for Vernon Speaks Sports. Man, I'm very excited about just the SEC period and where this football season could be headed for many teams, especially the Auburn Tigers. Once again, like I said before, it's K-Stu the GOAT for Vernon Speaks Sports. Shout out to my fearless and true gang. I'm glad this recruiting season is over. You all have a good one. Like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good one.